Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. A little bit of everything with Erin. Today's Monday, so we'll be vlogging about Willow. As always, thank you for joining me on Mondays. Today I'm going to do it a little bit different. I've had questions from you guys and I've been keeping them in my journal, and I figured I would read some of those and answer some of those today. And I wanted to show you my journal. I bought this at Target by UCLA when Willow was down there. And I got this when we were on like week 4 of her being in there. On the inside cover, I wrote some really important goals that we wanted her to meet. And I just jotted important information down every day so that if anything changed or if I had questions or I just wasn't sure about something, I could go back to that day and read up on those things. So let's jump into the questions. I have those in the back of my book. Okay, so the first question is, will you ever know what happened to Willow's original liver? And the answer to that is no. We won't ever know what was wrong. The only thing that her biopsy of that liver showed was hepatitis, and hepatitis is just a fancy way of saying that the liver is swollen and inflamed. If it has like a letter after it, then it's some kind of other issue. But when they just say hepatitis, it just means your liver is inflamed. So we learned that while we were there. What exactly is wrong with her new liver and why does she need a transplant? It's a great question. So 10 days after her transplant, her hepatic artery, which is the main artery of your liver, it clotted off and she gets very little to no blood flow through there. She's been on blood thinners so that it kind of helps get some blood flow through there, but it's not the greatest. You do have what's called a portal vein that runs through your liver, and this brings up blood and nutrients that the liver needs. However, she has a traffic jam in there, so she doesn't get as much blood as she should. So the hepatic artery thrombosis, meaning her hepatic artery is pretty much not working, it's clotted off. Portal vein stenosis, which is a fancy way of saying she has portal vein blood flow issues. And then she has those bile ducts, internal ones that are inside the liver, they are kind of like shriveling up and dying because they're not getting enough blood flow. So those 3 main issues are the biggest problem right now. Of course, her rare rejection is always going to be there, but she definitely needs a transplant because of those 3 main issues. Do you think Willow will ever live a normal life? Again, another great question. Thank you for asking. We try to have Willow live as normal as a life as possible. There are times where we have to do what we call house quarantine. If she's got like a bortezomib, which is what shuts down her immune system, we don't take her out of the house for a couple weeks, and we don't let people interact with her besides her physical therapist and her home health nurse and the people who live in her home, because we don't want her to get sick. If she gets sick during certain times, it could be really bad for her and possibly fatal. So we do have a little bit of a leash on her, but other than that, we try to keep her normal. Her birthday was just Saturday. She turned 2, yay! And I did take her outside for about 30 minutes. She rode in her sister's car with her, you know, a little motorized car. Her brother was playing with his drone, so she was chasing that around the yard. We gave her a little bit of chalk and showed her that like if she colored on the sidewalk, it would show up. She thought that was the coolest thing ever. And she had a big jacket on and it was hiding her bag. So if somebody drove by, like they wouldn't even know anything was wrong with her. In fact, her physical therapist came by today and he asked how she was doing, and I was like, if you didn't know that bag was there and you didn't see her numbers, her lab work, you wouldn't even know anything was wrong with her. So, you know, she's great, and we try, you know, again, we have that little leash. We just got to do what we got to do, you know what I'm saying? Do you or your husband experience any kind of anxiety, and do you see a doctor for it? Yes, we experience anxiety, sometimes depression. I mean, this is a roller coaster that we're on. Our emotions are really high, really low. I'll be honest, like, I cry almost daily. There are moments where I just completely break down. And should I see a doctor? Probably, but I haven't been apt to go to one, and I don't know if I'm 100% ready for that. And it may sound weird because I'm being open and honest with you guys on these vlogs, but sitting across from somebody who may have an answer or say something back to me, I don't think I'm ready for. I don't think anyone could say they can help me when they're not in my shoes. And I mean that in no kind of offensive way. It's just that if somebody were to tell me, oh, things will get better, well, I mean, people have been telling me that since they found out Willow was in the hospital, and things have not really gotten better. They haven't gotten worse, but they haven't gotten better. So I don't know if I'm in the right mindset yet to be open with someone right across from me who can interact with me, if that makes sense. I've tried antidepressants and anxiety medication before, and it is not for me. I don't like how it makes me feel. So I just do what I can do to not have anxiety attacks and try not to be depressed. I know it sounds a little backwards, but everybody goes through these types of things in their own way, and this is what I have found works for me. My husband does do what works for him as well, and you know, we've just been there to support each other and help each other and just get through this together for each other. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry if it was kind of a weird answer. I don't know. I'm just speaking my truth, right? Do Willow's siblings understand what's going on? Yes. They've been there since day one. I'll tell you, the first time they came to the hospital, we had been there a little over a week at that point, and that was the first time that they came up to the PICU, and all three of them lost it, as you can imagine. Seeing a baby hooked up to machines and having blood given to her and just her being bright orange, it was a scary moment for all of them. They understand still, like, even now when she gets admitted, they all have like a little bit of a breakdown, and it's understandable. They've seen her in a really bad state, and they're always afraid that something worse will happen, which is always on all of our minds. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up. I don't mean to cry. I'm trying not to. Tissue alert. And so they're great though. Justin is amazing. He is the most patient person with Willow. She can be difficult sometimes, and again, this is not her fault. I mean, she's falling into a terrible 2-stage on top of being on steroids, and just all of her medication has loads of side effects, and she can't express how she's feeling in any other way than to scream and shout and throw things at you. So he is so helpful and so patient with her. He's been amazing. Autumn loves her sister more than the world. They're like best friends through thick and thin. You know, Autumn's 9 and Willow's 2, and Autumn takes time to sit there and play with her and try to give me and Dad a break, you know, when she knows that, you know, we've reached our limit for the day with Willow. And I could not be more proud of my kids. They've been extremely gracious and helpful, and again, patient through all of this, and they've been amazing. So I thank them all the time for their amazingness. Have you heard from the donor family? Yes. We recently received a letter, and it was very difficult for me. It still is. And again, tissue alert because I might cry. They lost their child, and they chose to have my child live because of organ donation. So when the letter came, it sat on my counter for quite a few hours because I could not open it. Like, I did not have it in me. And not because I didn't want to know what they said, it's still very fresh for me, so it's difficult for me to read another mom's words. My husband came home and he opened it and he read it first. And he told me he thought that I could get through it. It was a very short letter and a very sweet letter. And I have written numerous letters, but none of them sound right. It's hard to say thank you. It's hard to let them know that Willow is fine, but there's lots of problems and that she needs another transplant. I want this letter back to them to be the best letter that I could write and tell them how I feel. And I need to make sure that it's right before I send it. And I want to stress that if you are a donor or you've had someone donate their organs and your family was told that there's a letter, you don't have to accept it. The other family will know that you didn't accept it. They are told if you accepted it or not. You can accept it and you can write when you are ready to write. Remember that. Like, don't feel obligated the second that you get a letter from either side of this story that you have to write that day. Do it when you're ready because you want your words to mean something. So that's the last question I had, and I knew it was gonna really get to me, so that's why I was gonna make that one last so that I didn't cry on here again, guys. Jeez, stop making me cry. But I want to thank you all. Thank you for always joining in on Mondays and watching. Thank you for all your support to Willow. You have no idea what it means to me and my family. We really do appreciate it. Until next week, guys. Bye.